This segment is brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terraborn Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very much. And we are always very glad to have joining us from Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, Captain Brendan Mathern. Captain Brendan, nice to see you again.
You too, Keith.
Thank you very much. I know we had a couple of cases to review. First and foremost, thank y'all for all the hard work that you do. We certainly want to wish everybody a very happy Halloween. And certainly we're thankful for you guys keeping everybody safe during the Halloween season. So thank y'all very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's like I said before, it's one of those great times where we get to get out in the community and have a positive interaction with people.
Yeah, so we're very glad to do it. All right, let's get some updates about this Lockport man arrested on the multiple charges after he was holding a woman gunpoint.
Yeah, this is one of those cases that really stuck out, over 15 charges for this individual, and it all stemmed from an incident that occurred on Monday. We arrested Adam Gregoire Jr., a 45-year-old man from Lockport on Monday. And basically all this happened on Monday. We found out that he and a woman were arguing outside of his residence in Lockport. He grabbed her by the hair, forced her inside the house, and then again began choking her and in that domestic incident. And at one point he grabbed a pistol, held it to her head, and threatened to kill her. Kept her at the home for several hours. At some point later in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock, he left the home, and so the woman was able to escape. And ultimately, we got her story. She was able to contact authorities, and we got her story, and we were able to track down Gregoire pretty quickly. Found him traveling southbound on LA1 in the Matthews area. He turned down Adams Street. We conducted a traffic stop. He didn't stop at first, but eventually pulled over in the 200 block, began fighting with deputies. They had to use a taser and subdue him. And ultimately, they found that he had, this could have been a lot worse. This is one of those situations where he was carrying a loaded gun, a stun gun, 2 sets of brass knuckles. He also had drugs on his person. And ultimately, he was a convicted felon, and he has a couple of protective orders, all preventing him from possessing or owning a firearm. So you can see how the charges were just kind of stacking up here on Gregoire, and he was arrested for a litany of charges. And ultimately, his bail was set at $241,750.
Wow. And so I'm so very glad that she was able to get away from that. You were able to validate what happened, catch up with him. And despite his efforts and having a loaded gun, thank God y'all are well equipped to know what to do and how to handle that. And we're able to use the taser to control that situation and really get an environment where things could have gone really badly with him having a loaded weapon.
Sure, Keith. And when you think about it, I mean, that has the potential on any traffic stop. I mean, think about how many people carry a firearm in their vehicle. It's South Louisiana. I mean, thankfully, in this situation, in spite of having someone who was ready to fight with police officers, it did not escalate to that level. So it tells you a couple of things. One, just because a gun is involved doesn't mean that it's going to be pulled out. And sometimes common sense does prevail, even in a crazy situation like this. And two, as you said, our deputies are well trained. And even though there was a gun involved, it never got to that point.
Right, right. And again, like you said, he was prepared, right? Had a gun, had a taser, and also had some brass knuckles. He was ready to fight, right? And put up a battle.
It seems clear from the evidence, yes.
Right. Gotcha. Well, again, thank you for handling that. And for LPSO really making a difference and getting this individual off the street and him being held accountable, as you mentioned, for the litany of charges that he's got and will be facing. We also had another situation for about an Alabama man who was arrested for swatting calls to Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, this is a very interesting case, and we hope a cautionary tale for anyone thinking about using this. swatting, as you probably know, Keith, but just for your audience's sake, is essentially when you call in some type of major crime or major incident to a residence to try to solicit a large law enforcement response, essentially a SWAT team to come out to the residence. So it might be something like a shooting or a kidnapping or a hostage situation, something something that we don't deal with every single day and might inspire a larger than normal police response. It's used as a prank in some cases, and it's even used in retaliation to kind of get back at people for something. But all in all, it is neither of those things. It is a crime. Now in Louisiana, we actually have a statute, and we were able to charge someone with it. And in this case, it wasn't even a local person. This is someone who was making swatting calls from a home in Mobile, Alabama. 25-year-old Corey Flood Sr. Was making several calls to a house on Plymouth Street in Thibodaux, and again involved shooting victims, drug activity, armed kidnapping, all of this, which of course we responded to the residents, not with a SWAT team, but we responded in kind and ultimately determined to not be true. In spite of him using burner phones, as you would call it, prepaid phones, and even some apps, thankfully, our detectives are well versed in investigations that involve both of those, and were able to track and tie him to those calls and charged him with the statute that is in place in Louisiana, which is false communication with the intent to cause an emergency response. We were able to charge him on 4 counts of that. And he was released the following day after being booked on October 23rd. He was released on a $10,000 bond. But ultimately, again, this is such a breakthrough for us to be able to show you that not only were we able to make an arrest on someone essentially making prank calls to a residence, but this was able to cross state lines. And we were able to go to get the cooperation of another jurisdiction in another state and get this guy to be held accountable for actions here in Thibodaux.
Great work, great police work. We thank you very much, Captain Brendan, for all y'all do.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. I got a whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.